So welcome back, and we will first start with the first module, that is CICD and a DevOps introduction. So basically we have gone through why we require DevOps into our present environment, what are the business requirements that are changing and that requires DevOps to gain its profit at the end. So there were different terms that we have went through, and from your side, if anybody wants to tell me more about DevOps, they can write into the comment section so I can read it along. But before beginning with DevOps, as we know, DevOps is a continuous journey. It is a continuous integration, continuous deployment, continuous delivery that is going to provide it. And we term it into two terms, that is a development and operation, that is going hand in hand. So later on in the upcoming part, we'll see what AWS as an organization thinks about DevOps, how it handles DevOps. So basically, starting with CICD. First, we'll go what is continuous integration, what is continuous delivery, deployment. Before beginning with that, there are different practices that DevOps follows, and two of the practices that holds the CI/CD is. But starting with the first practice, what it holds is a configuration management. So CM as configuration management says that is a practice of controlling and managing the changing software requirements, that it holds a practice of controlling and managing changes to your software using a version control in a standard and repeatable way. So this is a practice that gives you a version control, and that is about a configuration management. The next continuous integration, where it states that develop, build, and test. So developer regularly checks in the code to a shared or central repository. Then what happens is this automated build run using a shared code base, and then there are tests that runs against base giving a feedback to the developer. So this cycle comes into phase. So continuous integration is the practice that requires a developer to integrate his code into a shared repository often and obtain a rapid feedback. So once he develops it, once he builds it, so there will be testing happening, and yeah, often it gives you a rapid feedback on its success during its active development. So the end goal is to create your thing. You have to create a development, you have to build, and you have to test through that. Then the tests are happening against that to give you a feedback to the developer, so how things are going on. It provides a feedback to the development if it is worked or if it is failed, if it is successful or not. So this is about continuous integration, and it has to maintain its checks through uploading his code through a central repo, then building it, then testing over that code. So this is about a little bit about continuous integration. And moving further with continuous delivery, before that also there are different principles that we can say automated testing happens that we saw. So what is an automation testing? Before that, we'll see, like on the right hand side, you can see when we were talking about continuous integration, there was a life cycle that was a develop, build, and test. But when we talk about continuous delivery, what comes into picture is a development, a deployment, then the test, and the release with the three cycle phase. So it's a develop, build, test, deploy, test, and release. So successful builds are automatically deployed to the UAT, that is a user acceptance test. When the builds are successful, they are automatically deployed. Automated or manual test runs are done against the deployment. So whatever your deployment has been done, it has to be verified. So it's automated or a manual test has been done. And before pushing it towards the production and approval, it needs an approval. So amongst all this, there is one more practice that comes into picture is an automated testing, which gives you a level of automation. This practice is used for specialized software to control the execution of software tests, and it is used to compare the result. So automation is relied upon to reduce the burden of running repetitive tests manually, to speed up its execution of testing process, and also it allows the execution of different tests, like difficult tests that are going to be done. So this automated tests are usually run during the CI build. So when you are going, when we went through the develop, build and test, the automation was done. The automated tests were done during that CI build, as well as in different manners. So the tests to be automated are in unique way. So it will always be, the test will always include different things, that integration should be there, end to end performance should be there, then the security, then the compliance, all these things are to be checked. So moving further with this continuous delivery, what we say is, as we saw, the practice of making every change to your source code ready for the production. So everything that we go through, a develop, a build, a test, a deploy, and when the builds are successfully, it goes for an automatically deployed thing to your UAT. And then when your deployment is done, it will be the verification, or the testing will be done, that will be automated on manual, and upon the successful approval of that, it will be released. So it will be released into your production. So after this, we are going to see what are the DevOps practices. So that's what I was talking about. DevOps holds a continuous journey, that is continuous integration, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment. So continuous integration, we saw what was it? Continuous delivery and deployment, we saw what actually continuous delivery and deployment mean. But in the picture, it will get you clear that when we move through different phases, that is going on from source control to build to the staging and to the production environment. So first, from source control, there are commit changes happening. It is an automated process towards build. So it helps in a continuous integration. While from build phase to staging phase, unit tests are happening. In the staging environment, we deploy to test the environment, then run the integration test, or different tests are run, load test and other tests that I told you, like we test for security, compliance, then performance, end to end things. But when you are moving from build to staging, there is a continuous delivery and continuous deployment. So what is the difference between continuous delivery and deployment? So you can see when there is an approval needed for the deployment, so it is a continuous delivery. And if there is an automatic deployment, it is a continuous deployment. So from moving on towards the staging to production, there are two things happening: a continuous delivery and continuous deployment, depending upon the approved deployment or a automatic deployment. And production is production environment, it is that a ready environment to deploy directly into your production environment, so it is ready to use. So these are the DevOps practices that are needed to follow, and there are different various different. The major practices that we were looking for is a continuous journey that holds CICD, continuous integration, delivery, and deployment. And the other things that you can consider is continuous monitoring, then automated testing that I told you. So continuous monitoring will give you a visibility of everything. It will give you an alerting, take actions, and give you the health of your application, which is into production environment. You can see, like, be aware of your like application that is being into the production. So that will continuous monitor it. And yeah, that is about the DevOps practices. So what are the different phases of DevOps? What is goes through? This phases, we are not talking about AWS platform as if we are talking in a general term about DevOps phases. From your side, anyone else, they know what actually these phases work upon, like how is the workflow, they can write into the comment section. So till now, I hope all of you have understood what we are going through. Actually, in this session, before this session, I had introduced you to why we are jumping into DevOps. But this session specifically tells you what are its phases, why are we going with CICD, what actually CICD and DevOps on AWS means for AWS platform. So these are the 5 major phases that a DevOps goes through. First is source. fetch check-in code to the repo, then review your code. Second is build, where you compile your code and the testings are happening. Then the unit test is happening, and the testing phase comes where different types of testing are happening: load testing, UI testing, penetration testing. Penetration testing is for see the security. UI testing, then load testing is happening, and the fourth is deploy. Deploy is to deploy to the production, and fifth is monitor. Monitor like to detect any issues or any bugs that are happening, and then we can revert it back to the developer so he can solve the issues. So this is how a continuous phase of DevOps is going on, from source, build, test, deploy, and monitor. So let us take a break over here with our first module, and we'll meet back.